A former intelligence official is claiming the president dismissed advice in regards to North Korea. Former acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe spoke with 60 Minutes this weekend. McCabe claimed President Trump valued Russia's threat assessment of North Korea over that of U.S. security agencies. Here's part of his conversation with CBS News' Scott Pelley.
Essentially, the president said he did not believe that the North Koreans had the capability to hit us here with ballistic missiles in the United States. And he did not believe that because President Putin had told him they did not. President Putin had told him that the North Koreans don't actually have those missiles.
And U.S. intelligence was telling the president what?
Intelligence officials in the briefing responded that that was not consistent with any of the intelligence our government possesses. To which the president replied, "I don't care, I believe Putin."
Well, the president allegedly made the remarks during a meeting about the weapons capability of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. McCabe was not in the room at the time, but a colleague told him about the comments soon after. To discuss, let's bring in CBS News contributor Isaac Stonefish. He's a senior fellow at the Asia Society Center on U.S.-China relations. So first off, I just want to get your take on what did you think of this interview?
It did seem like McCabe was being credible, and it is a pretty incredible allegation that he's making that Trump would trust Putin's view on this over the U.S. intelligence agencies. I do want to say that the real threat North Korea poses is much more to its own people, to the people in nearby Seoul, and the conventional weaponry. The threat of it sending missiles to the United States does feel overblown, but what Trump was saying was not North Korea is not going to do this, but they don't have the capability.
So how much, when you look at that interview and you said it seems like he's credible, how much weight do you think we should be putting on McCabe's claim?
I think the claim rings true, and it rings a lot truer than Trump's dismissals of it afterwards. I think it does put for an interesting preview for the summit that we're having, next week, where we hope that Trump gets more concessions out of North Korea in exchange for having the meeting, but it's maybe more likely that it'll be handshakes and pleasantries and not much substance.
What do you think the foreign policy implications are for world leaders watching that interview when you hear him say that he trusted Russia over his own U.S. intelligence officials?
I guess people could interpret it as another indication that Trump feels better with despots like Putin, like Kim Jong-un.
But do you think they believe that?
The leaders about this?
Yeah.
I think they believe that Trump is swayable, and that if you flatter him, then he will possibly do what is in the best interest of that leader as opposed to the U.S.
I want to play some of what the president had to say about his predecessor's relationship with North Korea. Here's the president Friday speaking about former President Obama.
And I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, by far, North Korea. And I don't want to speak for him, but I believe he would have gone to war with North Korea. I think he was ready to go to war. In fact, he told me he was so close to starting a big war with North Korea.
Help us understand that. Where's this coming from?
I don't want to speak for him. It's a famous last words. It seems like Trump is trying to give himself credit for stopping a war that was never going to happen by trying to potentially engender really high tensions between the United States and North Korea, reducing tensions, saying that tensions would have been worse under other leaders, and then taking credit for it.
So President Trump will have a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un next week. Put it into context for us. What should we be paying attention to?
I think we should be paying attention and seeing what specifically comes out of this summit in terms of actual deliverables. So not, oh, tensions are lower, things are better, Kim Jong-un and I have a great relationship, but much more, okay.
Of substance.
Yeah, North Korea has promised to do this. Here's when they will do it by. If they don't do this, here's what happens.
Do you think there are things on the table that are non-negotiable?
I think certainly we're not going to get rid of the North Korean regime, which is something that National Security Advisor Bolton has long wanted to do. I don't think that's going to come up. I think we sort of pretend that we're negotiating over North Korea giving up its nuclear weapons. I think those are in fact non-negotiable. I don't think those are going to go anywhere while Kim Jong-un is still in power. So I think it'll be sort of nibbling around the edges.
And you look back at the first summit, there was so much hype around it. Right. And it was a great photo opportunity, and we did hear afterward that there were great talks and they have respect for each other. But what do you really think is going to come out of this summit?
Great photo ops. I think
More
that's probably, I think it's much more likely to think that it's just going to be very similar to the last summit in a slightly different vibe. We're going to have the same sort of awkward, goofy chemistry between the two leaders, and really very little is going to change.
Again, Isaac Stonefish, thank you so much for helping us break that down.